I was appointed to be the U.S. representative in Bosnia to help with the privatization of the funds that the government had when they changed from a communist government, Yugoslavia, to a non-communist government. And we had about $14 billion of assets, and we were supposed to mediate between the Serbs and the Muslims and the Croats. I was told there was a magistrate who was famous for mediating things. They brought me to visit this man who had been for years mediating between the Muslims and the Serbs and the Croats. This guy had the magic. People would come to him, he had a process, he listened to them, and he would get results. It inspired me to believe that in every country and in every culture, there are these heroes and heroines. That's how this started. We created this to help inspire and encourage and implement the programs and the careers that each of you have started in your respective countries.
As you may know, the average life of a case in India is 15 years. Average life. We started in 2007 and we've done 16,000 cases and we've settled 63% of them.
To see how ADR systems work here, because I know and I have seen it, that they work successfully and they bring results.
I hope to learn more about Quarternics mediation programs. Massachusetts was one, New York completely different, Baltimore and Maryland very different, Philadelphia it's very different.
The Weinstein Fellows have been incredibly important, and we wouldn't have known just only 3 years into this program how involved they would be in helping us learn from them and they're learning from us and to contribute to the expansion of our business.
You can't be in a room with this group and not be taken by their collective and individual energy. I think they're inspired. The JAMS Foundation has given them a foothold, a stepping stone.
Well, first, the legitimacy of having been selected as a JAMS Fellowship is already an accomplishment. I'm developing the business mediation side, and I hope to make it more or less like the JAMS model, where the business sustains the social and the social creates culture to make people more prone to use the business.
After I learning those education, mediation training, and I can bring something back to help promote a formal ADR program in the Chinese university law schools.
My court designated as one of the national ADR initiatives.
I think the ADR is quite developed in Hungary, I mean in terms of the legal environment. I cannot say that we haven't established the legal environment because actually we did it. I think the problem is much more about that it's not so well known. Much more about generating cases, generating cases for the practical life of mediation.
As the U.S. Ambassador to ASEAN, our portfolio and the mission is to address borderless issues and problems and opportunities. So many of the things that essentially affect the world in this age of globalization don't have boundaries, which brings into mind the mediation that's required in order to address or to attempt to resolve these issues across borders.
The most important thing I would say for me within the fellowship is to understand the JAMS model as a business. What are the difficulties? What are the successful stories?
I believe from a business side, people don't know what ADR can offer. So this is why I'm trying to connect what we know in practice, what can be said in theory from an academic point of view, and how we can present that to clients who will be the potential users.
Bhutan has a long history of ADR dating back to 1652 AD.
Our conversation this morning with the Weinstein Fellows As they were talking about one situation, someone said, in my country, money would not be enough for that. And it will be a great fun tomorrow to kind of begin to say, well, let's look at what are the instruments of healing, and look at apology, how it works and what it does, and look at forgiveness, what are the mechanics, how does it work, what does it do, and how do those add value to us as mediators.
Now I'm also prepared to develop a model of mediation that can applicable to Cambodian culture.
I believe I can learn a lot from shadowing GEMS neutrals. It's a great opportunity to take lessons back and try to introduce that more in Europe.
Well, I think that the Weinstein Fellows program is creating the next generation of mediators around the world that are going to take on new challenges. And one of those challenges, I hope, will be dealing with international human rights conflicts, because there's a crying need for dispute resolution services in that area.
China has a history of over 5,000 years, and in that time it has developed a lot of wisdom, a lot of culture, a lot of knowledge on dispute resolution. When I look at the United States, I see that China has a lot to learn as well. And so I think China has not only a lot to share, but also a lot to learn.
Hopefully, some of the people at this table will be helpful in peacefully resolving larger disputes at some point in your life. You may be called upon to do that, either within your country or between countries. One of our hopes is that we'll create messengers of peace out of this program who will go back to their countries and someday be called on.
The Weinstein Fellows and what they're trying to do at JAMS is extraordinarily important to extending that out into the world in a number of contexts, not only for the resolution of private disputes, but for potential, at least advice and possible participation in the resolution of cross-border disputes amongst countries.
How, in addition to the education that we give the fellows when they're here, how we can help them get started in their respective countries with their mediation practice.